Greetings and salutations, test takers. This is Series 7 Guru coming to you from my almost complete off-grid location and studio here in northern Arizona. We have a segment called Ask the Series 7 Guru, and the question for today is, what are super voting shares? As you notice, this is a different studio, and we have a little ticker in the back where you can watch the video go by. Let's see who's coming up next here in our ticker. Microsoft, so you can check in with us for stock quote, assuming real time in the live stream. Super voting shares are simply shares that have more than one vote per share. So that's what we mean by dual class voting. For example, the Ford Motor Company has dual class shares. The Class B shares of the Ford Motor Company are owned by the Ford family. And while the Ford family only has 2% of the outstanding stock of the Ford Motor Company, they control 40% of the voting power. Wow. So it's not like we're going to boot the Ford family out of the Ford Motor Company. So if you're going to make an investment in a corporation that has this dual class voting, you should be comfortable with or approve of the way that the super voters have steered the company and how you think they're going to steer the company in the future. Right? Because you're going along, in this example, for a ride with the Ford family. I thought during the financial crisis, the Ford family's super voting shares and the interest of the Class A shares were one and the same, right? To avoid wiping out the equity of the Ford Motor Company, right? The common stock. Are you comfortable with the disproportionate voting rights? Again, do you understand this idea that you're not going to be able to impact the corporation as much through your voting? Right, a little different than the typical questions about statutory and cumulative, right? Even in cumulative, when you have one vote per share. So here you have typically 10 votes per share. Do you believe the dual class structure will serve the company in the future? It may not serve the company in the future. For example, if changes need to be made, and, Zuckerberg has Class B shares in Meta, formerly known as Facebook. His shares have 10 votes per share. So, you should understand that, do you approve of the way Zuckerberg's running things? Because you're not going to be able to do much about it, right? So those super voting shares give disproportionate control over the company by allowing multiple votes for every share that those super voters have, right? This became very popular and became more of an issue in Google's IPO in 2004. In Google's IPO in 2004, they did their initial public offering with dual class voting. The Google Class A shares have one vote per share, and the Google Class B shares, which are typically, Larry and Sergey, the founders, and a couple others, have those super voting shares, right? Those are the Class B shares in Google. Meta has the same situation. Now Meta, but formerly Facebook, has A shares, the ones you and I buy and sell in the public marketplace. And then Zuckerberg has the Class B shares, right? So again, he has disproportionate control over Facebook, Meta, now Meta, the holding company, than he otherwise would have if he only had one share or one vote per share. Okay, so I hope you found that helpful. Remember, inch by inch, your exam's a cinch, yard by yard, your exam is hard. If you have any things like this that you would like to ask me about that you've encountered on the exam, super voting is definitely on the Series 7. Just send it my way at Series 7 Guru at guruexamprep.com. And will you see you for the next installment whenever that comes about.